Under the same roof. How Stoicism transformed a dysfunctional family into a happy home. There was a house on the corner of an ordinary street. It wasn't the biggest or the most modern, but it was full of life, noise, untold stories, and silences that spoke louder than words. The Rivera family lived there. From the outside, no one would have imagined that within those seemingly normal walls, an invisible battle was unfolding, a clash of emotions, personalities, and unresolved wounds. And also, without them knowing it, a powerful transformation was about to be born. The father, Samuel, was a hard-working man, serious and quiet. He wasn't cold, just tired. He had spent his entire life believing that love meant providing, that showing affection meant keeping the house standing, putting food on the table, and securing the future. He never learned the language of hugs, but he knew the weight of duty by heart. Every day he came home with tense shoulders and eyes a little dimmer, as if the world demanded more from him than he could give. The mother, Elena, was different. Bright, sensitive, strong-willed, but with a heart that felt too much. Sometimes she spoke too much, sometimes she stayed silent for too long. She worked hard to keep the home in harmony, yet part of her felt she was carrying the emotional weight of the household alone. She loved deeply, but she also hurt deeply. She wanted peace, but often ended up raising her voice just to be heard. They had 2 children. Lucia, the eldest, was 17, a mix of strength and fragility. She was intelligent and passionate, but also impulsive. Her world moved at a speed no one at home seemed able to understand. She felt unheard, demanded of, but not truly understood. Sometimes she wanted to run away. Other times she just wanted someone to ask how she really was. Then there was Tomas, 12 years old, quiet, observant, the invisible spectator of the conflict. He saw everything, understood more than he said. While the others argued, he often hid in his room with headphones that played no music and eyes that learned to hold back tears before understanding why they were there. That family, like many others, loved each other, but they didn't know how to love each other well. Days passed in repeated routines, rushed mornings, silent breakfasts, racing against time, unanswered messages, small arguments that grew into storms. They weren't bad people. They were just broken in places no one knew how to repair. One night, everything changed. It was raining, not a gentle rain, not a soft murmur on the roof, but a full storm. Thunder echoed what had been building inside that house for years. Lucia had argued with her mother over something insignificant, clothes on the floor, homework, a tone of voice that always seemed harsher than necessary. And Samuel, exhausted from days of work stress, exploded with words he never meant to say. Elena cried. Lucia screamed. Tomas locked himself in his room. No one listened. No one looked at each other. Then something unexpected happened. The power went out. Total darkness. The television off. Phones without signal. No distractions. Just them, their heavy breathing, the sound of rain pounding the roof, and an uncomfortable silence that forced them to feel. While looking for a flashlight, Samuel found an old book in a box, one that had belonged to his father. He had never read it. It had been there for years, covered in dust, its pages yellowed with time. He didn't know why he picked it up. Maybe because life works that way. It gives you the tools when you're ready to use them. He opened it, and under the dim light of the flashlight, he found a sentence someone had underlined decades ago. You cannot control circumstances, only what you do with them. He read it quietly. Then he read it out loud. Something began to shift. Elena looked up. Lucia stopped. Tomas came out of his room. No one spoke, but the silence was no longer war. It was listening. Samuel kept reading, barely noticing his voice tremble. The words spoke of calm, of accepting what cannot be changed, of choosing how to respond, of understanding that peace doesn't come from the outside world, but from within. It wasn't a sermon, it was a mirror. Those words hurt, but it was a healing kind of pain. Everyone felt something move inside, as if an old wound were being touched gently for the first time. That night, not all problems were solved. But for the first time in a long while, they sat together without television, without shouting, just them. A father reading. A mother listening. A daughter breathing more slowly. A son finally feeling included. No one said it out loud, but it was the first brick of a new house, a new home within the same home. What followed wasn't perfect, but transformation had begun. The next morning felt different, even though no one mentioned it. Sunlight came through the windows with that clarity that only appears after a stormy night, as if the sky had washed not just the streets, but emotions too. The house was the same, but the atmosphere had changed, a soft silence, no longer tense, but full of possibility. Lucia was the first to come down to the kitchen. Her eyes were swollen from crying the night before, but something new lived in her expression, a mix of shame and a desire to reconcile. She found her mother pouring coffee. They didn't speak right away. They didn't know how to start. Sometimes the hardest thing isn't yelling, it's saying hello after a war. "Do you want some?" Elena asked, holding out a cup. Lucia hesitated for just a second, then nodded. It was a small gesture, simple to anyone watching from the outside, but between them, it was a giant step. Two trembling hands holding a cup, it was their first attempt at finding each other again. Footsteps came down from upstairs. Samuel descended slowly, as if he wanted to feel every step. When he sat down, he didn't hide the exhaustion on his face, but he didn't avoid his wife's eyes or his daughter's either. For the first time in a long time, he allowed himself to be present. The man who was always there, but never really there. The man whose mind lived at work, in bills, in duty. Today, somehow, he was here. Tomas arrived next and sat beside them without a word. There were no laughs, no long conversations. Just four people sharing breakfast without television noise, without vibrating phones, without rush. There was something sacred in that simplicity. Samuel took a deep breath, like someone preparing to jump off a high bridge. He placed the book from the night before on the table. Everyone looked at it. "Last night," he began quietly, "I think we found something that can help us." Lucia frowned, remembering her screams, her anger, the words she had thrown like stones. Elena swallowed hard. Tomas played nervously with his fingers. Samuel opened the book to a random page. As if the universe spoke when someone finally decided to listen, he found another underlined sentence. "The true victory is conquering yourself." The words fell onto the table like a truth no one could ignore. Elena was the first to break the silence. "I want to try," she said, her voice cracking. "I don't know how. I don't know where to start. But I want us to be okay." Lucia felt a knot tighten in her chest. She wanted to say, "Me too," but guilt and pride clouded her words, the inner struggle every teenager knows. Wanting love, but not knowing how to ask for it. Her eyes shone, but she stayed silent. Tomas looked up. He, who almost never spoke, said what no one expected. "I miss when we used to laugh together." The words struck straight to the heart. Three adults who had been too busy fighting to be right, forgetting there was a child absorbing every word, every gesture. No one replied, because nothing could be wiser than that simple, honest sentence. That morning, an invisible purpose was born. Not an agreement, not a forced promise, but a seed. Small, fragile, but alive. The days that followed weren't magical. There was no perfection, no instant change. Arguments didn't disappear, but they began to transform. Where there had been shouting, there were pauses. Where there had been impulsive reactions, a quiet question began to appear. Is this worth fighting over, or can I breathe and let go? Elena was the first to try. One afternoon, when Lucia came home late again without warning, the old urge to scold her rose like fire. But she remembered the phrase, I don't control what she does. I control what I do with this." She breathed. Lucia braced herself for the storm, for the lecture, the disappointment. But Elena spoke differently. "I was worried about you. I wish I had known you were okay." Silence. Lucia didn't know what to do with that response. It was easier to defend against a scream than against an open hand. "I'm sorry," she whispered. That moment carried more emotional impact than any argument ever had, because where conflict expected war, it received peace. And in the presence of peace, the heart doesn't attack, the heart opens. Samuel began to change too. When his boss spoke harshly to him at work, he didn't respond with anger. He repeated the words he now read every night. "What others do is out of my control. My reaction always belongs to me." He came home without his usual rage. He didn't unload his day onto his family. His children didn't pay the price for his exhaustion. Elena looked at him with surprise, as if she were seeing another man. And maybe she was, one who was beginning to know himself. And Tomas, he bloomed quietly, like a shy plant that grows when no one is watching. He spoke a little more each day, smiled a little more, felt less invisible. Lucia, however, was still a storm waiting to be resolved. One Saturday afternoon brought the first major test of the family's new dynamic. Lucia asked permission to go to a party. Elena hesitated. Samuel wanted to say no. Tomas watched from the couch. The tension returned like an old ghost. Elena spoke first. "I'm not sure it's a good idea." Lucia crossed her arms, ready to fight. "It's always the same. You never trust me." Samuel stepped in. "It's not about trust. We're worried you're making decisions without thinking." Lucia felt the anger rise like lava. The old impulse returned, to scream, slam the door, run away. But there was also the new voice, soft, uncomfortable. "Breathe." For the first time, she chose to listen to it. She didn't yell. She didn't insult. She didn't run. "I want to go," she said firmly. "And I promise I'll come back early. I promise I'll answer messages. I just want you to trust me." The words left her parents without an argument. They were mature, honest, new. Elena looked at Samuel. Samuel nodded. "Okay," Elena said. "But keep your word." Lucia smiled, not in victory, but in connection. That night, for the first time in a long while, the four of them felt like a team. That night, Lucia went out. She wore a black jacket, headphones on, and carried a mix of freedom and responsibility growing inside her. When the door closed, Elena felt a strange emptiness in her chest. It wasn't fear, not exactly. It was the realization that her daughter was growing up. No longer a child she could protect with rules and arms, but a human being with her own choices. Samuel hugged her from behind, something he hadn't done in a long time. "We did the right thing," he whispered. Elena rested her head against his chest, breathing slowly, finally feeling a safe place to rest. Tomas watched them from the hallway and smiled. Their home was changing, but no deep transformation comes without a great test. 3 hours later, Lucia wasn't responding to messages. At first it was mild concern, then an uneasy silence, then real fear. Samuel paced the living room like a caged lion. Elena checked her phone every 10 seconds, her mind creating terrible scenarios. Tomas sat on the stairs, silent, but his eyes said everything. What if we lose her? Midnight came. She hadn't arrived. She hadn't called. The calm of the morning felt like a distant memory. The book lay on the table. Samuel stared at it, searching for answers. Elena began to cry quietly, feeling trust tear apart inside her. Tomas clenched his fists, powerless. Samuel took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and remembered. You don't control what happens outside. You control how you choose to face it. He lifted his head, firm. We're not going to yell when she gets here, he said decisively. We're not going to attack. We're going to listen. Elena wanted to argue, to demand explanations, to protest. Her mother's heart ached. But she breathed slowly, deliberately, as if each inhale were a brick in rebuilding the family. When the door finally opened, Lucia walked in with rain-soaked clothes and makeup streaked by tears no one expected to see. She didn't look rebellious. She didn't look defiant. She looked broken. Elena ran toward her, but Samuel gently placed a hand on her arm, not to stop her, but to guide her. "Let's talk first," he whispered without anger. Lucia looked at them in shock. She had prepared for the fight. She needed it, to justify her guilt, to fuel her anger. But there was no war, only calm, and that calm disarmed her. She collapsed onto the couch, trembling. "I'm sorry," she sobbed. "I lost track of time. My phone died. Then it started raining. I didn't know how to get back." Without thinking, Tomas ran over and hugged her. He was the first, the smallest, the softest. Lucia cried harder, not out of fear, but because for the first time, she wasn't attacked for her mistake. She was received with love. Elena joined them, wrapping her children as if trying to protect them from the entire world. Samuel watched with moist eyes, feeling a new, humble pride. There was no perfect speech, only presence. When everyone calmed down, Samuel said something that changed the direction of that family forever. "We're not going to use your mistakes to punish you. We're going to use them to grow." Lucia looked up, surprised. "You're not mad at me?" Elena smiled, sad, but sincere. "A little. But we love you more than our anger." Lucia broke down again, but this time the tears were cleansing. Guilt turning into learning, pride turning into humility. That was the night the Rivera family discovered a powerful truth. Peace isn't built when everything is fine. Peace is built when the storm arrives and you choose not to become the storm too. The days that followed were different. Samuel began reading a passage from the book every night after dinner, not as an obligation, but as a ritual. Elena prepared tea for everyone. Tomas listened with full attention. Lucia, though at first she stayed out of respect, soon became genuinely interested. They talked. They listened. They didn't always agree, but they no longer needed to fight to be right. One night, Samuel read a sentence that echoed through the room like something every heart recognized. "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Lucia thought of her teenage fears, not being enough, disappointing her parents, getting lost in the world. Tomas thought of how often he had felt small and invisible. Elena remembered all the times she suffered anticipating problems that never came. Samuel thought of every night he came home carrying a future that didn't yet exist. The silence afterward was long, a good silence. But life, as always, brought another test. This time, it was Samuel. One Tuesday, he came home from work holding an envelope. No one knew what it was at first, but his expression mixed fear and dignity. He had been called into the office. The company was laying people off. He was on the list, unemployed after 18 years. Inside, his world collapsed, though outwardly he tried to stay strong. Elena held him with her eyes. Tomas turned off his video game without hesitation. Lucia sat beside him, taking his hand. Samuel's voice broke. "I don't know what to do. I don't know how to support you now." Elena caressed his cheek, like she hadn't done in years. "You don't have to carry us alone," she whispered. "We're here with you." Samuel looked at the book on the table like a lighthouse. He opened it and read with a trembling voice. "Adversity does not build character. It reveals it. Then Samuel cried, the strong one, the provider. He cried without shame. No one judged him. No one called him weak. Because that night they understood another truth. Strength isn't always about enduring. Sometimes strength is allowing yourself to fall so others can lift you up. The family hugged him all at once, 4 hearts beating together as if they were finally one. The days after losing his job weren't easy. Samuel woke up early out of habit, but instead of leaving for work, he sat at the table, his coffee slowly growing cold. Elena watched him with a love she hadn't known how to express before. Lucia left for school with a kiss on his cheek, a new gesture, small but enormous. Tomas sometimes sat beside his father in silence, simply keeping him company, as if silence were its own language of support. Samuel began looking for work, but the world outside wasn't the one he remembered. Rejections. Waiting. Emails without replies. Frustration knocked on the door again. Before, it would have turned into anger, tension, arguments. But this time, something had changed, in him, in all of them. One morning, while browsing job listings, he found another underlined sentence in the book. When you can no longer change a situation, you are challenged to change yourself. He read it again and again, and then he understood. His worth wasn't in a job. It was in what he was capable of building. That same day, he announced a decision that surprised everyone. "I'm going to start my own business," he said firmly. "I'm going to create something of my own, something that depends on me, on my hands, on my effort." Elena hugged him like someone watching a loved one be reborn. The children smiled. Sunlight streamed through the window at that exact moment, like a sign. For weeks, Samuel worked designing wooden furniture, a talent he'd had since youth, always treated as a hobby. The house filled with the scent of pine, the steady sound of tools, effort, and dreams. Elena helped with accounting. Tomas took photos to post online. Lucia recorded videos and uploaded them to the internet. The family worked together, something that hadn't happened in years. Then, one unexpected afternoon, while finishing a table for a neighbor, the phone rang. It was their first big sale. A family wanted to hire them to furnish an entire dining room. Samuel stood in silence, phone trembling in his hand. Elena looked at him with shining eyes. Lucia screamed with joy. Tomas hugged his father tightly, as if he never wanted to let go. Samuel cried, but this time he cried in peace. The months that followed brought slow but steady growth. Every piece Samuel built carried not just wood, but patience, acceptance, and humility. Every sale was a quiet affirmation. We didn't lose. We transformed. Lucia changed too. She no longer needed to escape to feel free. She found in her family a place she wanted to return to. She began writing, pouring her emotions into a notebook she later shared with her mother. Elena listened without judgment, and together they built bridges where walls once stood. Tomas, the quiet observer, found his voice. One day, he decided to speak in front of his class about what he had learned at home. "My family used to be like a storm," he said. "Everyone wanted to be right, but no one wanted to listen. Now we're like a tree. Each of us is different, but we grow toward the same sky." His classmates fell silent. His teacher cried. At just 12 years old, Tomas understood something many adults never do. A year later, Samuel worked in his own workshop. The business had grown. They had hired 2 assistants. Sales came steadily through recommendations. Elena organized everything: finances, clients, deliveries. She had regained her light. Lucia was about to finish school. She wanted to study psychology. She wanted to help other young people heal what she had learned to heal at home. She knew her story could transform others. Tomas continued growing, not as a spectator, but as an active participant. He learned to work with wood alongside his father, hands covered in sawdust, heart full of pride. One special night, celebrating the workshop's anniversary, Samuel gathered his family in the living room, the same place where, a year earlier, they had broken apart in screams and storms. He took out the book, opened it, and placed it on the table. "This," he said calmly, "was the beginning, but it wasn't the solution. The solution was us. What we chose to do with what life threw at us. We could have destroyed ourselves. We could have run away. But we chose to stay. We chose to look at each other. We chose to change." Elena took his hand. Lucia rested her head on his shoulder. Tomas closed his eyes, feeling the warmth of home. Samuel read the final underlined sentence, the one that now felt written just for them. A home is not where everything is perfect. It is where, despite imperfections, we choose to stay and grow. And then they understood they had achieved something that once seemed impossible. It wasn't the absence of problems, it was the presence of love, patience, and purpose. The Rivera family wasn't perfect. They never would be. But they were strong. They were aware. They were united. And that was better than any perfection. The camera pulls away, the workshop glowing warmly, laughter filling the house, a book closed but never forgotten, a home rebuilt from the inside. If you're interested in Stoicism, personal growth, and real-life stories, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any videos. And don't forget to follow us on all our social platforms to stay connected with our community. Join the family of Stoic Stories.